Welcome back to the Weekly News Roundup. I know that I am officially on the road because I am recording this from a different time zone. I keep everything in the Eastern time zone, but I'm in the Central right now, and we are moving to the West. My Western trip has begun. So exciting. Anyway, we are back with a normal round of news related to technology and privacy and business and common sense and the crazy world all around us. Why not, right? We have some articles in privacy. We have a couple robo articles. We have security, business, and we cannot forget Sillyville. So let's go ahead and get jumping right on into the news. And we are starting with X, or is that Twitter, or is that the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, will collect biometric data from its premium users. Although, as Salbu pointed out, the policy says it may collect data, biometric data. So for your safety, security, and identification purposes, yes, it makes me feel very, very safe that you are collecting my data for my safety. Thank you very much for that. I do deeply appreciate it. Now, I think that they rewrote the privacy policy to include this portion about the biometric data. There's also a part in the new privacy policy about utilizing your data to train AI. We talked about that yesterday. And in this, if you go, now it does say if you're a premium. So if you're not premium, hey, we're not going to collect your biometric data. I'm like, great. That's the awesomest selling point ever to not upgrade my Twitter account. But it does say based on your consent, we may collect and use your biometric information for safety, security, and identification purposes. And what I'm wondering about this, would have to do with, I wonder if this is related to Bill Gates' push to get everybody one of these global digital IDs that he's pushing so much, because that does contain an element of biometrics to it. And so I'm wondering if that happens to be it, that this is just Twitter already setting the stage to collect data in that environment where they're going to be able to say, hey, here's your ID, and you just need to click your button here. Maybe everybody has these portable fingerprint readers. It'll verify whether those fingerprints go directly to Twitter, or if it's like a YubiKey. Some of the modern YubiKeys you can actually tie to your fingerprint. So even though you have the hardware key, it has to be your hardware key and your fingerprint. Does that fingerprint go off the device or not? That's a different question. And that was one of the discussion points. A lot of these phones and stuff that have the fingerprint readers, they do not actually send the fingerprint out to the company, but there are other legitimate reasons to not want to use a fingerprint on that, whether or not the company gets it. But that's really what Twitter is up to, is collecting biometric data. That's kind of fun. This is new. Now, I want to cover this one because there's a potential longer term for this. And we talked about this a little bit on the Band News not too long ago, where there's about 100 cities across the country. I think was it like 20 of them here in the United States, that by 2030, they do not want you eating meat. They do not want you eating dairy. They do not want you owning private vehicles. Well, London is the first to be taking a push against this by issuing a per-day emissions tax for any non-electric cars that are driving on the street. And the law is, I think it is just come into effect, or it's just about to come into effect. And so what they're doing is they are using these cameras, and these cameras are tied into their network utilizing your license plate. So you drive across with a combustion engine, any of one of these cameras spots you, and they're going to fine you between 12 pounds 50 pence, do I have that right? Up to 15 pounds. Indicating that a person who cannot afford a modern low emission or electric vehicle, i.e. poor people, will end up being taxed an extra 250 to 300 pounds per month for the simple task of driving to work. So there you have it. That is what's coming down the pipeline, and you better start seeing this happening in other places as well that would like to ban these cars. So we'll see it in that list of cities. But this group that is definitely a group of modern day Luddites, of course, they call themselves the Blade Runners. They are committed to making sure nobody pays these taxes because they have already knocked out 80% of these cameras. So Londoners are cutting down the cameras that capture license plates to fight the city's daily tax on driving. So Prince John would be so proud. Look at this. Taxes, taxes, taxes. Alms for the poor, alms for the poor. There you go. There you go. So they have a goal to take them all out. Here is a map. The red ones are destroyed and the black ones they just haven't gotten to yet. So this talks about 90% of the 500 cameras in Southeast London that have been disabled, destroyed, or stolen as the low emission zone is due to come into force August 29th. So looks like it just came into force about a week and a half ago. Blade Runners are determined to block the government's monitoring processes. So they are going in and simply disabling, destroying, dismantling, or whatever else these individual cameras. So London, England, an anti-ULEZ vigilante group known as the Blade Runners has committed itself to removing or disabling every last ULEZ camera in London. 90% of the cameras in Southeast London have already been retired. With London's ultra-low emission zone, that's going to take me over to Twitter X or whatever it's called. Bromley has been best hit with 83% of its cameras, 100 out of 120 reported missing or damaged. Well done, Blade Runners. Happy Friday. And then here is a video of a guy taking one down. So that's kind of what they're up to. So they're taking responsibility for taking those down. This is a hairy one because obviously we need to follow the laws. But did the people of London really vote for this, or is this just something some globalist person put into effect? I don't know. Maybe the story was better over on the other news section where we can talk more candidly. But I wanted to include it here to get as broad awareness of this, that beware, this is coming to a city near you, particularly if you're one of those 20 cities listed among those cities that want to restrict combustion engines by 2030, which, if you're keeping track, that is only 7 years from now. So, if you have a brand new baby right now, that child will only be in about 7th grade. Not even 7th grade, 7 years from now, brand new baby, let's say second or third grade, by the time, those cities would be successful if they try. And this is why we need to raise awareness of such things. Turn on notifications. I'd rather not turn off than turn on notifications. I think that was the link I didn't want to pull up. And this one here is the article, and there's actually a second article. So down here is another link. So you'll look at these. Of course, all the articles are on the, find the link to the website in the description, and then that link on the website will have all of the articles so you can go read about them. But this is it with the cars. Of course, the most hilarious one is Nissan specifically has in a privacy policy. They will find out if you are a cis or a trans individual, and whether you care about such things, and whether or not you might be engaging in the horizontal boogie in the back of your Nissan. Okay. It's going to, it is getting that bad. So Mozilla looked at 25 car companies and found every single one of them violated their basic, simple standards for privacy. 84% share or sell your data. 92% give drivers little to no control over their personal data. We could not confirm whether any of them meet the minimum standard requirements. At a glance, here's how the cars stacked up. So you can kind of see that none of them are actually really good. Tesla, of course, being the worst on the list. And a lot of this is just, it's not electric cars, it's just all the crap they're putting in. Now, I did question how are the cars collecting it. Some cars, of course, are coming with their own independent cellular networks that are always on and transmitting data. Obviously, those ones, any form of sensors in the vehicle can report data back based on what's in there. So if you can get a car without such a signal, then that's best. Of course, if you have a Google Maps or a GPS integrated or a Sirius XM, they're collecting data through that and other third parties. And if you are being a moron and collecting your connecting your car to a car app, then you're just asking for all this data to be handed up to them. And then, by the way, they're going to have all of the data for, as they claim, the right to repair guys. No, they're going to have all of the data to sell it to the crazy stalkers or to engage in other things that involves hurting people down the road. Basically, the point being is that cars are really bad, and you need to take the best steps that you possibly can to protect yourself from it. I think the other article might have actually had a little bit better links about which, where the, what the best policies are. Let's see. Yeah, this one here. Here you go. As car company, let's see, let's go down here. They collect personal information about how you interact with your car, the connected services you use, the car's app, which provides a gateway to the information to your phone, and can gather more information from third-party sources like SiriusXM, Google Maps. It's a mess. The way the car companies collect and share your data is so vast and complicated. We wrote an entire piece on how that works. The gist is they can collect super intimate information about you, from your medical information, your genetic information, to your sex life, seriously, to how fast you drive, to where you drive, to what songs you play in your car in huge quantities, and then they use it to invent more ways about you through the inferences about your intelligence, abilities, and interests. See, we need to raise so much awareness that this practice is completely banned. I want to be able to have a car that sends no data to anybody. That should be my basic human right to do that. All right. Where and how that happens is yet to be seen. But needless to say, what I like about my commercial van here is all of that stuff is extras. They've stripped it all out of these commercial vans. Bonus! Because my car does not have any of that kind of stuff. Even according to the owner's manual, there is no data that is collected or transmitted in my car. There is obviously a black box, which has to be pried out of the torn down wreckage of the vehicle, but nothing else. So there is that. And on to our last one in privacy. Google Chrome is feeding your data to the ad profiles. So, of course, as more and more websites are becoming a little bit more privacy conscious, some of them are dropping Google Ads, Google Analytics, and things like that. We talked about Steam dropping Google Analytics. Google's like, no, we can't have that happen. So they're going to embed it into your Chrome browser now instead. So if you log into your Chrome browser, then all that information about you is going to be stored on your Google profile. Whether or not the website is actually collecting such data, the stuff will be collected directly via Chrome. If you're not logged in, they're going to make inferences about who you are based on the things that you type, because that's what Google does. And so what they've done is they've put this code in that will manage and add privacy. So you can disable it by going to your menu here, privacy and security, and then there will be an option down here for add privacy. And then there's a variety of different options here that the text is too small to read on the screen for me. Let me see if I can make those bigger. There we are. There's add privacy, and then you have add topics based on your browsing history. This setting is off. Site suggested based on your activity on the site. This setting is on. And add measurement. Sites and advertisers can understand how ads perform. Where's the option to say, I don't want to see any ads at all? Like zero. Deal with it, Be like, well, how do we make our money? You know what? Sell service, just whatever else, But, that's why we run ad blockers. So Chrome is doing that now. This does not appear to be embedded in the Chromium code. So if you're using Chromium, it does not appear to be the case. There are certain things that Google puts into Chrome after it extracts the source code from Chromium. It does not appear to be in the Chromium code. It appears to be in the proprietary Google code itself. So if you're using Chromium, this shouldn't impact you, but I am open to correction on that. I looked to see if that was the case. I could not find evidence of it. And when I looked at Chromium on the most recent updates on some Arch systems I have here, I again could not find any evidence of this setting inside of there. So it does appear something tied directly to the proprietary blobs made when they add Chromium, when they convert Chromium to Chrome for your final analysis. So there is our privacy, and we're going to highlight before our transition over there to, I believe, into security, we're highlighting my book, Synaptergy. Synaptergy is a science fiction novel where Mark woke up in a hospital room unable to remember why he was there, but it was overshadowed by his being paralyzed. Using his robotics education connections, he rebuilds his once functional body. In the process, the team soon discovers the cost for restorative technologies. What could the price be to restore bodily functions? Mark needs to determine if he will pay that price. Head on over to synaptergy.com or tlm.li/s. You can read the first chapter, or you can listen to the first 5 minutes over here on SoundCloud if you would like. And then there are a number of places where you can pick up the book if you are interested. We have ebooks, audiobooks, and print books available for the book Synaptergy, which I have written. So you can go ahead and look into the mind of my science fiction. And if you really like what my science fiction is, of course, you can jump onto any one of our supporters platforms, which we will talk about later on in the show. And we have science fiction short stories coming out every month for the supporters, which tie into some of these things that we talk about here on the news and what the possible future scenarios are if those happen to get played out in our world. With that, let's head on over to security news. A 0-day in Atlas VPN Linux client leaks the user's IP address. So in other words, if you're using Atlas VPN on Linux, it completely defeats the purpose because people can still find out where you are. That's exciting. Experts warn of an Atlas VPN 0-day flaw impacting Linux client that can reveal the user's IP address by a visiting website. A Reddit user with the handle educationalmap8145 published a proof of concept exploit for 0-day flaw in the Linux client of Atlas VPN. Exploit code works against the latest version of the client, 1.0.3. They explained that the client has two components, a daemon, which is the Atlas VPN-D, and that manages the connections, and the client, the Atlas VPN, that enables users to connect, disconnect, and list the services. Reddit user pointed out that the client does not support any authentication mechanism. Client does not connect via a local socket or any other secure means, but instead opens an API on localhost on port 8076 when it does not have any authentication. This port can be accessed by any program running on the computer, including the browser, reads the post published on Educational Map. A malicious JavaScript on any website can therefore craft a request that will port and disconnect the VPN. If it then runs another request, this leaks the user's home IP address to any website using the exploit. So hopefully they get that fixed soon, but if you are using Atlas VPN, be aware of that. And they're not the only ones with some serious problems. Chrome, now it says the title here is "This Chrome extension can steal your passwords," and Google has no problem with it. Now, that is a very, very pro-Google title. The real title of this should be "Any extension that would like to can reveal your Google passwords and Google doesn't care." What? Yes. So this ChatGPT Chrome extension, it actually makes me wonder if TechRadar actually knows what's going on in this kind of stuff. Just reading their write-up was hilarious. So these security researchers noticed that the Google API that was collecting the various data, even with the Manifest v3 protocol, it had some bugs in it which could access basic raw input being put into the browser. So what these guys did is they created a fake ChatGPT client that didn't actually work, didn't actually do anything. They built into this client this specific exploit that could read your passwords being typed into any Chrome website in plain text. They published it on the platform. They got approval. They could have turned it on, pushed it out, and started collecting everybody's passwords and other things on the form and had that sent back to them. But they obviously deleted the thing from the extension list because they knew it was malicious and this was a proof of concept. So, and Google did not appear to be caring at all. So in theory, there is a vulnerability which would allow any extension inside of Google Chrome to steal plain text passwords. So use Firefox maybe? That's exciting. And back a few months ago, we talked about this major Microsoft Azure breach that caused a lot of headaches for anybody utilizing Microsoft servers in the back end. It had some blackouts on emails and all sorts of things. Well, we finally figured out what happened. It does appear to be, yes, that same exact exploit that takes advantage of your browser authentication. I mean, aren't I not so glad that every website under the sun actually pushed out the requirements for two-factor authentication, because now everybody assumes two-factor authentication, and this bug can still steal everybody's browser access tokens with two-factor authentication already approved, and then clone the browser elsewhere. It does appear it's another one of those cases. In this case, it was a malicious campaign against a Microsoft engineer, and the Microsoft engineer's account was breached. Somebody was able to get in there and watch what they were doing. Now, it wasn't just getting into the engineer's problem. The problem was actually much deeper within Microsoft itself. The problem is that when there was an issue with a platform, the log file would leak the keys with the specific application in plain text in the log file. And so by accessing the developer's computer, the hackers were able to gain access to the full key. And with access to that full key in the application, they were able to get into the application itself. And so that's really is how the breach happened. So it was a phishing attempt that was successful against a Microsoft engineer, combined with and then that was combined with a situation where Microsoft was really passing information they should not have been passing inside of a debug log. So that is how that happened. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have affiliates. Today we are highlighting A2 Hosting. A2 Hosting is where I hosted a lot of my own private sites and client sites for a long time until I got too many sites for managing it sanely. So now I do everything myself. But A2 Hosting is still an excellent hosting company. You can do your emails. You can do your basic websites. You can do all sorts of different things. It's not like a cloud infrastructure like Linode or DigitalOcean is. It is a standard web hosting, but they do have a lot of different options for web hosting. And I always like them when you give them a call, you actually get somebody in your country that will answer the phone. They have shared hosting starting at $3 a month. Don't use WordPress hosting. That sucks everywhere. They have the VPS hosting at $40 a month. They have the dedicated hosting $155 per month. Of course, that dedicated is like you're the only IP address. It's a full-fledged system. I mean, that's why it's so expensive. It's actually not a bad price for that. But you can pick up the shared hosting is particularly a good plan, and you can start up your websites over there pretty quick. tlm.li/A2H, and that will help support the channel and keep our lights on around here. Oh boy, do I have a robot banner anymore? I should have a robot banner. I do have a robot banner. Look at that. We're moving on to robots now. All right. So first up in robots, it's almost magical how robotic pets are helping UK care home residents. So instead of bringing those dirty, mangly creatures into your thing, my cats are looking at me right now. Hey, kitty, you want to go to a nursing home? He's like, no, I don't want to go to a nursing home. You nuts? Send a robot. So these guys are like, sure. So they created the robots. So apparently when you take the robotic pets in the nursing homes, the residents really like them. I'm wondering if that's just because these people are just too old to recognize they're not real, but I have no earthly idea. So you can see that they have basically stuffed animal things here that make real noises like it. Now, when they get these animals to go around and actually poop, that'll kind of be problematic, although they did that with baby dolls over 30 years ago, so you never know. Under the table, Majori Stephanie tickled her cat under the chin, laughed as she scooped it up in her arms and announced, I'm going to take him home with me and take him for a walk every day. Until the batteries run out, of course. You know, there you go. After an 8-month trial of similar pets in 8 Cornish care homes last year found positive effects, although things didn't always end well for the pets. One was found with broken limbs. Ugh! Well, good thing it was a robot. Kitty, do you want to go visit the nursing home now? He's like, no. Another was dropped in urine. And a handful malfunctioned. One of them became Hitler. A quarter of the residents didn't interact with them at all. The effect of the 100-pound animals on residents with dementia, especially when they are distressed, was almost magical. That's because they're demented. They don't really know what's going on. But, you know, said Lydia Anderson, Oak Hill Manor's activities coordinator, they become another tool to help care workers avoid medicating residents who are struggling. You know, it's always better still. It's better to have people come in with the service animals that are trained for this, rather than giving them robots, which I'm not sure many of them are necessarily understanding, or it might actually be confusing them more than anything else. But if you bring a real animal with a real trainer, that's actually a really good case to sit down and be like, yeah, that I can absolutely see and understand and appreciate getting involved in that to help with the care residences. All right, next up in robots is the robo-tax. This is a piece from TechCrunch. Should U.S. implement a robot tax? And as I was mentioning to these supporters last night, the problem with having a robot tax here is that a robot tax, the robot tax is effectively the precursor to what we predict is going to happen before a UBI. So that raises some good fear up there. Is this really what they're doing? MIT economists Arnon Kostenot and Ivan Werning. Why can't people be named like Bob Smith anymore? I mean, really, come on. Discuss the potential impact of proposed robot tax could have on automation and jobs. All right, so a version of this original story appeared on TechCrunch Weekly Robotic Newsletter. Okay, big, often unremarked upon aspect being... Okay, never mind. I'm going to read their stupid article. All right, let me just summarize it for you. So the idea of what they're saying is as more and more companies want to bring on robots, the tax would tax those companies for having the robots and taxing them, which would actually help to pay into benefits for people whose jobs have been displaced by robots. This is really why it was that basic UBI. So you have these big companies making a ton of different money. The government is going to hand out money to all of the plebs in the form of UBI. You go out and you just decide which corporations you'd like to hand that money to. They may as well just hand the money all to the corporations or do away with money altogether and just give you digital credits. Oh, wait, that's what they're trying to do. Never mind. I don't want to give them any more ideas. But the idea here is, we keep on talking about we got to raise minimum wage to $15. I got news for you. People who flip burgers and take orders at McDonald's are not worth $15 an hour. Okay, even in this crazy economy, they're not worth $15 an hour. If you get into this and you start demanding $15 an hour, and by the way, for a full-time employee that's $15 an hour, you actually out of corporate pocket, you end up usually paying between $30 and $40 an hour for that employee. Okay, the amount of money that you make, I make $15 an hour, that's not all the expense that employee has, because first and foremost, the corporation has to pay 50% of their wage roll taxes. If you think that taxes are bad now as an employee, you should start owning your own business sometime, and maybe you might get a little bit mad at all these taxes. Okay, but if you're telling McDonald's you have to start paying your cashiers a lot more money, McDonald's might look at it and go, I think I'm just going to get a robot to replace them instead. And in fact, most of the McDonald's in State College now, you go in and I think they still do sort of have a register open. You have to stand in front of it like an idiot for 5 minutes before somebody comes over and takes your order, because they just expect everybody to go in and push all the touch screens over there and place your order on the touch screens. Which, no, I'm not doing that. Deal with it. Lowe's, just after Labor Day, announced that they were doing away with almost all manned cashiers. So Lowe's is now going almost entirely self-checkout. So sorry, Lowe's, I'm not shopping at you anymore. And I will encourage other people to stop doing that as well. But as these robots are taking over employees' jobs, what they're saying is you need to start taxing these companies not only for replacing the employee, but for the long-term maintenance of that to fund the employees that have been displaced. And that is the precursor to UBI. So that is a very interesting take on it. So they are discussing this right now, and it is the precursor to UBI. I think UBI is a really bad idea, but if the government wants to start issuing some UBI, hey, I'll take it. I'll just use it to start succeeding with. I could use some extra money to invest in something else. That'd be great, right? Who couldn't use a few more bucks? Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have a locals page. We have switchedtolinux.locals.com. So you can jump on over there. We are doing the short stories in science fiction. We are doing those in text, and we're doing those in audiobook. And then at the end of the year, or probably early into next year, we're going to collect all those stories that we have. We're going to make a full print book out of it, and the higher tiered supporters will get a free copy of that book if they want it. Of course, everybody will, all the supporters will be able to read them digitally, and we'll be able to have access to the audiobook as well. And probably I might also make the ebooks available for free as well, but those will not be out until all of the stories are compiled. You can get those. You can also join in on the Thursday shows as well by joining up over on switchedtolinux.locals.com. And with that, let's head on over to business news. First up in business news, if you are foolishly using Google to let them take and record pictures of your house inside, shame on you. But your Bidenomics fallout is going to be an increase in price. The base Nest Awareness subscription now costs $8 per month or $80 annually. $16 savings. It was previously $6 a month and $60 a year. So they're basically going up by, what is that? Like a 25% increase, right? Adding $2 to your $6 bill. So you're going to have to pay a lot more money if you'd like Google to continuously select and record data for you. Of course, if you do not pay this money, Google will just have the data. You just won't be able to access it. So, you can get along there. So here's your Nest Aware subscription is $8 a month or $80 a year to save $16 annually. Or the Plus is $15 per month, $150 a year, save $30 annually to store your data for 30 days and 60 days. That's just how long you have access to it, by the way. They'll keep it all indefinitely. Why not? 24/7 video history. This one has it for up to 10 days. There you go. So this guy says, top comment by Mark. As soon as my Nest devices need replacement, I'm looking elsewhere. That's a pretty steep price increase. Google explains the Nest Awareness price increase, such as subscription prices, can change to keep up with market shifts, inflation, and local tax updates. Yes, translation, Bidenomics. The dementia patient in chief in the White House caused his amazing Bidenomics plan, and your Nest cameras just went up by 25%. New price will go into effect on the next bill occurs after November 6, 2023. For other countries or territories, we'll notify you through the email at least 30 days ahead of the price increase. Google is encouraging Nest Aware first-gen subscribers to upgrade. Yes, you should upgrade to a different camera. So there you go. If you are using Nest, be aware that your prices are about to go up. Thanks, Joe Biden. All right, Airbnb bookings dry up as New York. New stay short rules are introduced. Okay, this is an interesting one that I am like, okay, this is complicated because I am at heart, I believe that the government should have minimal interference with the market. I completely agree with that. However, some of the Airbnb short-term rental stuff has been completely abused to the point where this is one of, not the only, but one of the major factors driving up cost of housing, which is absolutely horrible for everybody, where investors with a lot of extra money would come in, buy up entire blocks, and rent it all out for Airbnbs. Now, even neighborhoods and HOAs that have ordinances against this still aren't always able to keep up with the fact there's Airbnbs, and many times don't do anything about it even though they're there unless there's some serious problem. So I personally, I think Airbnb is the worst thing that has ever hit our economy in terms of the housing price market. I think nothing has hurt our housing markets more. So for that reason, I think we need to do something about this company and about the number of holdings that people can have. I think the spirit of the company used to be, hey, we have extra room in our house and we can rent it out. I don't think Airbnb was ever really designed as a single unit spread across the whole world place to rent out your, multiple investment properties. And so New York has introduced new short stay rules. Now, there is actually a typo here that conflicts with the article body in the little subheader. The subheader says, under the new restrictions, short-term renters will need to register with the city and must be present in the home. So maybe it is right. It's just that what it says is short-term renters. It sounds like the people renting the place. That's not the case. It is the people who own the Airbnbs are going to have to. So the short-term leasers, not the renters. The short-term leasers need to register with the city and be present in the home during the duration of the rental. So that means that if you are looking to rent an Airbnb in New York City, you are going to have a New York City roommate for the duration of your stay. That fills me with an awe of terrifiedness. So count me out of that. So I'm not really sure this is necessarily the best approach, but I do actually agree that something needs to be done, because in the absence of any form of regulation, the rich class will come in, buy up all of the properties. People looking for single family homes are not going to be able to buy a property. Also, these guys can rent them out in short-term rentals, and it radically drives up the market cost. And it introduces individual homes that are zoned residential as party zones. I think we need to have a situation, I think, where it's the zoning laws that need to kick in. Like, this is a residential block. You're not allowed to have any form of business structure that's going to be a short-term rental. Long-term rentals, probably okay. Short-term rentals, probably not. You'd need to isolate all short-term rentals to specific buildings or certain areas. I think the zoning commission is what needs to fix this, not weird rules, because I think this New York City rule is too far. But I think something about Airbnb needs to be done, because it completely is a major factor. It's not the only. I know there's many other ones, BlackRock, etc., that also drive this up. But the fact of the matter is Airbnb has hurt a lot of the housing market because of these short-term rentals. And then you have houses that are just, people can't afford housing. It drives up the cost for everybody. Single home houses disappear, which is part of the globalist plan, because they don't want people in single family dwellings. They want people in huge rental complexes and things like that. So we'll see. All right, Apple shares fall after reports that China banned iPhone use by government employees. Kind of like United States is like, you guys can't use Huawei. Apple's like, y'all can't use iPhones. So, well played, touche. So Apple shares fell more than 3% on Thursday, following 4% decline on Wednesday after several reports suggested that the Chinese government workers could be banned from using Apple's iPhones. China has ordered officials at the central government agencies not to bring iPhones into their office or use them for work, the Wall Street Journal reported on Wednesday. It was unclear how widely the bans were issued, and China is Apple's third largest market, accounting for 18% of total revenue last year. And there's Tim Cook going, oh, crap. So this is part of that global fight. We see a lot of these companies pushing back against us as we're trying to do more and more things. We're seeing this pushback against us. And so, this is a reality of the types of things that are going to happen. So we have to be aware of it. But if we want to ban Huawei, and we probably have good reasons for it, China wants to ban iPhone. And do they have good reasons? Probably. I mean, if data has to be stored on American servers, now I don't think that's the case with iPhone. I'm pretty sure that Apple cucked anyway, and all Chinese residents, any Apple accounts that they have is stored on Chinese servers, so the Chiacom still has access to it. But we'll see. That's what's going on over there, though. And on to our final story. For the first time in 40 years, Windows will ship without a built-in word processor. Now, it used to have Wordpad as a built-in word processor, although most people have said, it doesn't really do a real good job as a word processor, but hey, at least it's a little bit better than Notepad for some things. But it is a go-to application for doing simple things, simple text and stuff like that. I know when I still used Windows computers, I did use it a lot. I found it certainly a lot better than Notepad for a lot of things. But they're getting rid of that. Why? Because they want everything on that subscription for iCloud. Nobody uses WordPress WordPress anywhere. Everyone gets our subscription for Microsoft Office, whatever the other flaws, Windows 11 has given the operating system built-in app suite its biggest overhaul in many years. For apps like Calculator, the changes have been merely cosmetic, but everything from sound recorder, media player, paint, and snipping tool has gotten some kind of thoughtful redesign and new features now often for the first time in over a decade or more. One exception is Wordpad, built in the rich text editor that Windows has included in every version since Windows 95. Though much more limited than Microsoft Word, Wordpad also has more versatile than Notepad, capable of saving in RTF, DocX, ODT, and text files, although its the support for Word documents has always been prone to formatting errors. But its last substantial update came in Windows 7 when it picked up the then new ribbon interface introduced in Office 2007. Version is still available for Windows 11 with a few modifications. But they're depreciating the page for Windows. It looks like WordPad will never be getting a redesign to keep the pace with other Windows apps. The app is no longer being updated, and though it remains available for now, it will be removed in a future release of Windows. Microsoft did not specify whether it would be removed in an update or in some future major Windows release. So Windows is starting to pare things out, getting rid of some of the more useful tools, and this is, in my opinion, just a drive to get people to utilizing the Office subscriptions, because in reality, how many people are really using WordPad for business anyway? I can probably say if there's one application that we can probably see justified remove, it might actually be the one. So there's that. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have affiliates. Of course, my branding is still off. I'm still calling it Linode. Technically, it's now the Akamai Cloud, although you do still spin up Linodes. So tlm.li/Linode is going to get you $100 in credit, good for 60 days of spinning up and playing around with servers. You can do anything from Jellyfin servers to VPNs to hosting clients, just all sorts of fun stuff. I'm using Linode for a lot of different things, hosting client websites, the restreamer that's currently allowing us to stream this program onto 5 different places simultaneously. All of that is done through Linode, and they are certainly an excellent place to be playing around with some cloud infrastructure work. So with that, let's head on over to Sillyville for more. And first up in Sillyville, oh boy, I have to be careful how I say this one for the tubies here. Paw Patrol snack packs are recalled because their packaging has URLs that lead to websites that you need to prove your age in Louisiana and Utah. I'm guessing this is just a diversity hire who threw some crazy diversity and inclusion link onto the things. I'm not sure that's necessarily a typo. I'm just trying to see how many kids could they get going to their website before they took it down. I mean, reality. Lilith, a UK grocery giant, has issued an urgent recall for Paw Patrol snacks sold in their stores. Apparently, the packaging on the snacks, there's a link to a defunct website, and the URL's website has been taken over by Chinese video people. Yes, video people. Urgent recall. 4 types of Paw Patrol snacks are being recalled after a website URL listed on the back of the packaging was compromised with stuff unsuitable for children requiring ID verification in the states of Louisiana and Utah. Now I want to know what the URL was. Okay. The website in question used to belong to the manufacturer of the Paw Patrol snacks. However, the company went insolvent 2022, which would explain how they lost control of their website. It's not explained how we are just now having a recall. They must have sold a ton of those Paw Patrol snacks left in their warehouses to still be selling them nearly a year later. We just let our way out of this, right? All right. Whenever the case, since the original manufacturer is out of business, they can no longer recall the stock. Liddy says the product can be returned to their stores for a full refund. So get your money back, moms and dads, and don't follow the link. There you have it. So, yeah, be careful with those Paw Patrol snacks. All right, the Florida man is arrested by the Coast Guard for trying to cross the Atlantic in a human-sized hamster wheel. Come on, man. We should just go ahead and let the guy try. It's all cool. Just let the dude try to get past. It's all fine. All right. Just put a boat behind him. Make sure he's okay. Make sure he's got the food. Make sure he's got the water. Make sure he's not getting too tired. But look at this thing. Dude, it's awesome. It ain't going to sink. It's a bunch of buoy stuff, and he's just floating over there. Okay, if you can allow a bunch of billionaires to get into some untested pod and go down to the stupid Titanic at the bottom of the ocean and declare unsinkability, what's to stop you from letting this guy try to swim across the Atlantic? Stop it. Let him go. If you're worried about it, he's not going down there in depth. He's just going across the Atlantic. Just go ahead and follow him with a boat. Pull him out of there if there's a huge problem. I mean, I know there's a hurricane coming through the Atlantic. I can't say the guy's intelligent necessarily, but, let him go. It's a free country. So, yeah, they sued him. They saved 4 people and a dog from sinking boats, 4 capsized, whatever. Okay. Coast Guard officers told Belushi they were cutting his voyage short. He threatened to kill himself with a 12-inch knife if anyone tried to apprehend him and claimed to have a bomb aboard, according to the complaints. After days of trying to get Belushi aboard the Coast Guard vessels, he admitted he did not have a real boomy boom, and on September 1st, officers were able to get him to disembark. Why? Come on. You let the billionaires go and kill a bunch of people with an untested craft. What's wrong with letting this guy go across the ocean in his hamster wheel? What? This guy doesn't have $1 billion, so you want to stop him? But you're going to let the billionaires go? Okay, that's a good thing. All right, let's save the people who aren't the billionaires doing stupid things. Let him do what he wants to do. Come on. And, the title says it all. Using AI to talk to trees with Graham Hine from ePlant. That's right. This is actually just an audio podcast, but basically this guy, Graham Hine, he's the co-founder and CEO of ePlant, a startup that creates sensors that monitor the health of trees, and they are utilizing AI to talk to the trees and figure out how the trees are doing. So you can kind of imagine there's a little bit of nuts loose in this guy's heads up here. He's going all over. I don't know. Let's see. Hine talked about what got him interested in the tree space to begin with. It was like from transitioning from being a founder after working for years at a startup founded by his brother. Hine also talked about why the company decided to launch both B2B and consumer strategies and the wide breadth of potential use cases for the tech. I'm going to say that there is a single use case for this tech. It's to get a bunch of VCs on board, send him a bunch of millions of dollars, give him a millionaire startup lifestyle for about 5 or so years, cut it all short when he goes bankrupt, doesn't have anything, and then he gets to go off and live off of some royalties or something and never to be heard of again. That's really the plan. So congratulations on your new $1 million lifestyle for having a startup with AI devices that talk to trees. If you want to help support this channel, because, I'm trying to do something real around here, not talk to trees, you can support me over on Patreon, patreon.com/TOMM. That will help support this channel, keep our lights on around over here. You can participate within Thursday shows. You can do the hangouts after the Thursday live portion is over. And we also have these science fiction short stories online coming on about roughly the 15th of each month. Those are going up, and then you can get a chance to see what those look like. So with that, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.